This is the number of tips that you're gonna see in this video. Have you thought of those tips? Are you aware of those? I don't know, but I'm sure and I hope that you know already. And probably you do, but prove me wrong. If you miss any of the tips and if you think that those tips were genius, let me know down in the comments below. And without any further ado, let's just go through the video. Number first, I think one of the worst things that you can do from the very early on when you launch Diablo 4 for the first time is to rush through the game. Diablo 4, as known through all of the franchises, has a deep understanding about the detail, and Blizzard, as a company who created this game, has a very valuable and treasured player base that always acknowledges and understands that every sort of element and every sort of zone and quest and every sort of info within the game has additional meaning, additional like Easter egg within it. If you're gonna rush through the game, you're gonna miss out on a hell of a lot. So don't miss out on the game. Don't rush through the game. Second thing would be to spoiling the story. There's gonna be a lot of ways that you can spoil the story. There's gonna be internet posts. The game, as you know, gonna be released 4 days early for people who have pre-purchased the game at the highest price. However, for you as a player, there's no need to rush through the content and spoil the story so that you know ahead of time what's gonna happen. Enjoy yourself. Immerse into lore. The game is filled with adventures and twists and narratives. If you want to know the game to the fullest, take your time, enjoy it, and have the best experience you can get. Third thing, neglecting other responsibilities. Why it can be tempting to dedicate a whole lot of time that you can spend sitting next to a computer playing video games. During that time, if you have kids, if you have family, if you have responsibilities to drive your mother to church, or I don't know, any other things that you usually do, what do people do usually, I don't know. But the thing is, game is a game. It's meant to bring you joy, and it's not a thing that you need to sacrifice something. Of course, we're always sacrificing our time, but we shouldn't sacrifice our happiness. It's a thing that I think if you're a smart person, and I think you are, you already set aside your time so that you could play the game, so that you wouldn't need to sacrifice your family duties, family activities in order for you to could play the game. Also, ignoring your health. I myself, I'm over 30 now, so I know the thing that when it comes to health and when it comes to sitting down, a lot of streamers, a lot of people have noticed that you can't really sit too long at one place. You want to move your legs, you want to walk around, and that's the thing. You shouldn't ignore your health. Focus on your health. Drink liquids, stay healthy. Healthy body, healthy mind. If you're gonna be healthy, you're gonna play a lot better. So don't miss out on this. Okay, we're done with the health part. I probably you skipped it already. You shouldn't avoid experimenting with builds. Builds are crucial in the game, and if you're avoiding or missing out on such element of the game, you're missing out. Game will teach you a lot of things, will drop you a lot of items, and in order for you to could fully explore the game, you need to experiment with it. So don't be scared to experiment. There's news from Blizzard as well that they're sharing that respecking gonna be even more accessible. So feel free to enjoy, feel free to explore. This is your game, this is your time. Take and use the best out of it. Next up, being too competitive. While the game will have possibility for you to use PvP content and enable PvP mode, there is a thing that's gonna be tempting for you to rush out and kill other players from the very beginning on. But please understand that you are playing this game for the very first time, same as other people gonna exploring the game as well. So most likely, if you find other person that is hostile and want to fight you, fight him, but don't get too overwhelmed if you lose, or don't get too excited if you win. This is start of the game, start of the league, and everyone is just playing around and exploring. Don't be too judgmental, don't be so competitive. Focusing only on endgame, as it could be tempting. However, in most cases, if you will be taking a slower pace, you will have the luxury of not only exploring and seeing more of the things, but you will be happier person yourself. There's no way that you're gonna miss out on endgame. There's no way that you're gonna not get there. The endgame gonna be there waiting for you whenever you're gonna get there. Also remember, why focus on the endgame? at the very beginning, as at the start there's not going to be even a ladder, so no point for you to rush to the end. Ignoring ability to give constructive feedback on social media, as well as not following up latest news of Diablo 4. As you may know, people tend to criticize the game and the features that they don't like, and most often than not, features that players dislike are being specified as broken or bugs in the game, and developers tend to address them and fix them. Therefore, if there's any sort of feature that is misleading or harming players, you can follow up with those news. There's Twitter, there's Reddit, and people are most likely gonna share this information. So if you want to stay up ahead on the game, it's best to stay on top of the social media and follow up the game when you're not playing it, so that you would be aware what's happening. It's a very key element to mention for all of the people that have played previous Diablo franchises, and it's to look into Diablo 4 with open eyes, not as a comparison to previous Diablo games, but as a new development, new enhancement, new product that Blizzard can share with new communities that are coming towards Diablo and exploring all of the franchises. So don't be too keen and comparing game to other games, as this is a brand new game. This is Diablo 4. Ultimately, in all of the video games, the point is to have fun. And don't get caught up in achieving certain things or completing certain challenges. At the end, it is designed for you to be lured into the game, but don't overcomplicate your experience. If you're having fun, go have fun to the maximum as you can get, following your achievement dreams. If you got bored, stop doing that, do something else. Don't get caught up in mini games loop. Or if you wish, do. The game is designed for you to have fun. If you're having fun, you're doing great. If you're not having fun, well, I don't really know how that could be possible. But yeah, the game is designed for you to have fun. We can't go any further without covering the most important and one of the most flashiest classes that exist in Diablo 4 realm. Therefore, it is the Sorcerers. I know that it's great for those who enjoy flash animation and sparkly casting abilities, but there's things that you need to know before playing this class or maining this class for real, as those tips I believe gonna help you, either you're a veteran or a new starter in Diablo 4 realm. Sorcerers have a lot of crowd control skills, and those skills come in handy. And if you are going to ignore them, they're gonna make your life very difficult. Sorceress is a squishy class, and if you're not using your crowd control skills, you're missing out a lot on the game. You can't really focus too much on the damage, as much as you like having 4 or more skills added into your skill bar, you still need to have some sort of survivability or health regeneration, movement or teleport added. Otherwise, as much damage as you can make, you can't make any damage when you're dead. Make sure to focus on defenses as well. Secondly, neglecting movement abilities. It's very similar to the one that we covered before, but you still need to know. If you want to survive any of the monster attacks, if you want to fight a world boss, if you're not going to have any sort of movement abilities besides the evade that is default in the game, you're gonna have a very hard time. And this is one of the key elements for you not dying and having as much fun as you can in this game. Sorcerers have access to different variety of spells when it comes to elements. Those elements comes in handy not only as a flash animations, but you can mix those. Don't be afraid to experiment with different styles and different abilities, as I tried it myself. Playing as a sorcerer, an individual element sorcerer, is not giving you any sort of advantage, as you can't do any damage when you're dead. Playing on the edge. The thing is, Sorcerers is very flexible and flashy class, but you can't fully explore the class if you are focusing on too much movement or too much defense abilities. I know this is a quite a contradictory point to points that I mentioned early on, as you need to find the ultimate balance, but the thing is, as cool and as fun it is to have movement and survival abilities, make sure to have at least 3 damage abilities. Therefore, single target damage, AoE damage, and damage that you could kite or just kill bosses. It should be some sort of a generic, but I noticed a lot of people are missing on this. So you always have to think in your head how since you're gonna be spending mana, you're gonna have some sort of difficulty retrieving that mana back. as you're gonna be spending it all at once at some time. So having you thinking how you're gonna get your mana, we're going to the very tip that was mentioned earlier on, experimenting. You need to experiment with your skills so that you would never run out of mana and be as efficient and as constant when dealing damage as possible. Being too reliant on one spell, as tempting as it could be, playing as a one element or one spell class, the thing is, the gameplay will be too boring and too repetitive after some time. And besides this fact, this is not gonna be a core element of the gameplay, as sooner or later you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunity. You're gonna be using only singular spell, not using support skills. Sorcerers have access to a variety of skills such as healing or shielding, and you can often use those skills to help yourself survive and help your teammates survive as well by crowd controlling abilities that you can use. And if you're not using those abilities, it's gonna be very hard for you and for your team to help you out. Most oftenly what happens is, as a sorcerer player, you'll have ability to kite enemies, and you may think, okay, I'm cool, I can just rely on my weapon, so I don't need to upgrade my armor. The thing is, if you're upgrading your armor, your weapon gets stronger as well by additional abilities. And if you have cash, you can upgrade your weapon as well. So don't be too neglecting on upgrading your gear. And lastly, not taking advantage of synergies with other classes. Sorcerer can work with other classes to create very powerful synergies, such as combining spells with Barbarian melee attacks. Barbarian can tank, and you can simply kill enemies from the distance. If you both synergize, both of you don't need any sort of movement skills. And if you don't have any movement skills, you have more damage abilities available for you. Hello there, I'm the guy behind the camera. If you want to see any of the improvements and you see any of the things that I could improve in my videos, let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And that's it, that's all I'm asking. Starting as number 1 is neglecting to summon the minions. It's crazy. From the very beginning on, when you're gonna start the game, you'll have ability to summon them. But not only that, you'll have ability to sacrifice your minions so that you could become stronger yourself. And the thing is, as per current state of the game, I wouldn't recommend you doing that. Up until you hit the max level, you get your legendaries, don't sacrifice your minions, don't do this thing. Play with your minions, they're gonna help you out. Not balancing use of different minions. Well, Necromancer has access to different types of minions, and even if we're gonna be covering warrior skeletons have a reaper skeletons, has a tank skeletons, and it's different types of skeletons. Feel free to experiment, don't get tied into one certain type of skeleton. Experiment, use different minions. Use your time wisely, explore the game. People that fell in love with only summon Necromancer and want to just cast curses on enemies, most likely just avoid using Corpse Explosion. And not only Corpse Explosion is an amazing skill of Necromancer that I can't really stress enough telling you this, but there's even Corpse Stuns that you can apply on enemies. And Corpse skills, I'm not sure how, it does amazing amount of damage and you need to try it out. At least one point into Corpse Explosion gonna make your life explode in happiness. Being too passive in combat. While Necromancer can fully utilize the minions and golems that he has to his side, the thing is, it may just create very boring gameplay for you. And the game offers you ability of 4 skills that you can use that are not resource dependent but cooldown dependent. So you can have your minions fighting the enemies, and meanwhile you can cast abilities that are resource intensive and cooldown intensive. So Corpse Explosions and minions killing enemies. Well, that's the way to go. Often or not, you'll notice that Necromancer has the ability to cast curses. In most cases, you'll be tied into one curse, but if you read description close enough, you'll notice that some of the curses don't work on bosses. And you will only discover these things if you play the game and read through the skills descriptions. So don't rush through the game, read curses, and if you want to switch them, switch them. The game has ability to do that. It's not like Diablo 2, you're not too tied on doing those things so harshly. Well, the thing is, as a Necromancer, you are not really so dependent on gear. As I remember my playthrough, it doesn't really matter if you're playing with two-handed sword and you want to play with a shield. The thing is, different weapon types gives you different abilities and different types of playthroughs. With a shield, you can go full thorns. If you're playing with two-hander, you can go full offensive. The thing is, if you want to have damage, it doesn't matter. If either you're gonna go with shield or you're gonna go with two-hander, you will need to update your gear, and not only update, upgrade. Don't miss out on that. Necromancer has a lot of skills that upgrade the damage of its minions, and if you're not resource efficient, you're gonna miss out on a lot of damage. And this damage comes from you not efficiently using your resources. So make sure to use your resources wisely, Necromancers. Being too reliant on corpse explosion. The thing is, it's easy to get into it. Corpse explosion, it's like a drug. It's really fun to use, but the thing is, if you're only playing with one skill and you're using a couple of minions, the game might get boring for you. And the thing is, that's not the whole point of the game. Feel free to explore, use corpse explosion when you're in tough situations, but don't overuse it if you're just playing for the first time. Enjoy your playthrough. Bone armor is a defensive ability that's absolutely unique to Necromancer. Starting from Diablo II, such ability just casts bones that protects you from environment thingies. And the thing is, when you get to world bosses and tougher bosses, you'll need some sort of defenses, as your minions could die, as they're a lot squishier than you are and they don't have any health potions. Yeah, so at some point you'll need to tank and you need to take some damage. If you're not using your bone armor, you might die, and if you die, don't do stuff. So do stuff, use bone armor. Necromancer as a class usually gives you ability to create different variations of your playthroughs. So from minions to bone necromancer, going to blood necromancer. Different plays create a different variety and different points of experiences for you. If you're playing necromancer as an only focused on getting money and getting gear for other classes, that is possible, but keep your eyes open and keep your ideas open as well, as this class has a lot to offer, and if you're close-minded, you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities. And hey, who knows, this might be just the class for you. I keep hearing people saying that Rogue gonna be #1 PvP class because of its agile and swift movement, unbelievably good damage abilities, and when it comes to clearing out content, it's one of, if not the best content clear when it comes to speed. Yes, in this section we will be covering Rogue, you got it correctly. One of the tips, not everyone are utilizing traps correctly for Rogue. Rogue has different types of abilities, from ranging from bow to melee abilities, poison abilities, right? Backstabs, everything. But use of traps, it's not so powerful. But the thing is, you can't really deal damage to enemies if enemies are not stationary. Therefore, in order for you to could slow enemies or stun them, you need to utilize your traps. Stealth ability. Not using stealth ability correctly could be one of the most vital, if not vital, things of Rogue. I understand that in current meta there are a lot of things that allow you to stay away from stealth, but as game will develop, this ability was not added by mistake. This was the intention of the class, to be stealthy, agile, and super swift. As more and more levels gonna go, more and more damage numbers gonna drop. So you'll need to keep an eye on this stealth ability in order for your survival, as you are the main damage dealer, and you can't deal damage if you're dead. The Rogue has the ability to use attacks that are super swift, and not only from the close distance, but you can do them from afar. And I know from the very beginning on, when you just start the class, ranged abilities don't really look so fancy, so attractive. But later on, when you discover more abilities and you can start synergizing those, using ranged abilities not only can overcome and be a lot better than close range abilities, it could even lead you into being like specifically bow build Rogue, as there's a lot of variations for you that you can use and utilize. Poison ranged abilities are a great addition to this as well. not taking advantage of shadow step ability. So if you're not focusing on only ranged abilities, you need to make sure that you have shadow step ability added into your hotbar. The thing is, not only you can escape and close distance with enemies, it also creates you ability to be super agile and power creep. Thing is, you can kill anyone at any distance. If you see anyone on the screen, just tap on it and you're gonna be behind that target dealing damage. And additionally, I think if you can even upgrade the skill, you'll be able to have even additional damage or movement speed buffs when you are closing huge distances. So don't overlook this ability. One of the mistakes you could make, as often rogues gets too aggressive too often. Different monster types have different types of abilities. Some monsters can do very little damage and you shouldn't bother about those, but other mobs can just simply stun you, stun lock you. So you can't really do anything when you're stunned, and if you're stunned in a crowd, you could die. So as tempting as it is to go into the group and kill them all, make sure to have your boundaries and don't be too aggressive all of the time. Rogue has the ability to utilize poisons, close range poison, long range poisons. You need to find your best playstyle that suits you. If you can't do that, it's gonna be very hard to utilize the class to find its perfect balance based on your playstyle and legendaries that you find. So make sure to experiment and use poisons from close range and long range, as at some point items don't really matter and it's only your skill that matters. Make sure that you find your best playstyle to be the best rogue there is. Not upgrading the gear, I think this is one of the things that's gonna be addressed in all of the classes, and as tempting as it is to as rogue to just stomp through content and say, hey, I saved so many cash as I'm not upgrading my gear, nothing bothers me more than people that I party with and I get stronger monsters and my party members are super squishy or just don't deal enough of damage. You're a huge downer if you're not upgrading your gear, so if you're considering on saving everyone a lot of money and well, thinking about yourself, you're not helping anyone, you're not doing anyone a favor. If you know from any of Diablo games, more players in the event or in the game, the stronger monsters gonna be. So you're gonna be taking more damage, you're gonna be dealing less damage, and monsters gonna give more XP. And if you're in a group, it's really sad to see a rogue who don't do enough of damage and is being carried by other members. It's kind of weird, right? Don't neglect to upgrade your gear. Upgrade it. Not managing resources efficiently. I've made this mistake myself. I was going into the groups, pressing all of my abilities and then using my singular attacks for generating resources and just waiting for my cooldowns to return. The thing is, the best is to have a strategy. When you're engaging the enemy, if you want to be as efficient as possible, you need to learn your skills. You need to play your cards right. And in order for you to be efficient and as cool as you can get, you need to know what you're pressing, so manage your resources and your skills efficiently. I think this is a trap that we can all say that we fell into. Well, since I'm the only one speaking here, I can probably say I fell into it. Stop being penetrating shot rogue. Those rogues are boring, you're not doing anyone a favor, even though you can AoE a lot of monsters. It's no fun. The thing is, you need to use versatile abilities and you need to mix things a lot to find your best playstyle and to find your rogues that you're acting as best playstyle. Singular ability, either it's range or close range, not gonna help you out a lot. The best rogues are the ones that can mix things. A rogue, like none of the other class, has a lot of movement abilities that increase the speed. And just give idea, if you could simply remove those skill points from movement abilities and upgrade those into dealing more damage on your usual skills that you're doing. Imagine the damage potential. Exactly, it's huge damage potential. If you are not focusing on movement ability skills, you're synergizing with your team. One team member could be tank, taking up close range damage, but you could be the one that's dealing a lot of damage and not focusing on movement, as other member is taking the full damage aggression from the monster. One of the most loved classes that I can't wait to cover is exactly the one, the bashing, the roaring, the yelling, the howling, the one, the only, the ultimate Barbarian. Exactly, the one that can fight through hordes of enemies without any shield, with 2 axes wielded, and just bash through the enemies. Yeah, that's the class, that's the one. Everyone who plays this class is either insane or insanely hard to kill player, as people who are playing this class are often known to be hard-ass people who can't just be settled down by anyone as they're stomping through the content. But none of those people can avoid making any of the mistakes, and in this video and in this section I'll be telling you about those mistakes and what kind of things you need to avoid in order for you so you can make your playstyle the best. It could be that you know all of those tips, it could be that you know none of those. So make sure to follow along. Alright, first thing is ignoring the shout. One of the most essential abilities of Barbarian, and in all of the World of Warcraft series as I remember, Barbarian has access to shouts that can buff or debuff enemies. You having this potential to be a buffer in a party can significantly increase or decrease your abilities when fighting enemies. If you're ignoring your core ability I'd see in the game, you're missing on a whole bunch a lot. Don't miss out on that. Don't go only full damage or full defense. Have some shouts available. Shout out. Not taking advantage of rage resource. I understand that from the leveling perspective, when you get to cooldown abilities, you're safe to use, they're amazing. But the thing is, as long as we cannot change the right click and we need to use the rage abilities, we have no way of doing additional damage while we're waiting for our cooldowns to return back so we could use them. So while you're waiting for your cooldowns to pop, don't forget to use those resource abilities, because they're just waiting there, waiting for you to use them, getting lonely for those abilities. You're being boosted, you're having an amazing damage, and you're left alone with what? With stationary mobility? Don't do that. Use mobility abilities. Move around, leap somewhere. As a Barbarian tanky class, it's very easy to become clunky and slow in combat. That's the reason it's good, and it's very nicely built game that it allows you to be firstly defensive and then build towards being aggressive towards the monsters. But don't get too caught up in this space. You need to be as experimental, as defensive, and as offensive as possible. Speaking about experimental and experimenting, that's what I mean. You need to experiment with different weapon types and don't get tied up or suit up in one weapon type. If we all know that Diablo 4 offers us abilities that are tied to the weapons, armors, and so on and so forth. If you have received any sort of legendary, and if you like this weapon or you don't really like this weapon or weapon type, you can simply extract the legendary ability and use it on another weapon that you find it, and it's gonna be perfectly fine. You don't need to tie yourself to one particular weapon. Experiment, feel free to explore. Game is meant for you to have fun and change, evolve, upgrade, and do what's necessary when it comes to killing foes. As much as it is fun to kill enemies one by one, since you're a super defensive class and you need to kill enemies, and the more enemies you kill, more gear you're gonna get. More gear, more fun. More fun? Do I need to explain anymore? When you're thinking about upgrading the gear, you may think, I am tanky enough, I'm level 40, so I don't need to upgrade my gear. But when we are speaking about synergy with the party, just remember, more people in the party, more people in the event that is happening right now, that's happening close to you, the stronger monsters are becoming. And if you want efficient and fast leveling, it's nothing faster than being in a group. Even the Blizzard has gained and given us additional boost that we can level up faster while in the group. And while we are in the group, who is the tank? Barbarian. So you need to upgrade your armor and be ready. If you're joining a group or any of the boss fight, you are the tank. In everyone's eyes, the bigger the target, the bigger the health pool, the bigger the defenses. And as far as I know, Barbarian and Druid are the ones that should take the damage. So this one is very easy, but I saw a couple of streamers just absolutely ignoring this thing. Barbarian is massive when it comes to crowd controlling abilities, using knockback, stuns, and helping out other teammates and yourself. Stuns work perfectly, and it allows you to fully diffuse all of the enemy's attacks. If you're not utilizing it, you're missing a lot. Okay, being too reliant on one ability, this could I could say this about all, but Barbarian especially, your main thing is being defensive. If you're being defensive, you're most likely to have a lot of buffs on you. Therefore, defenses leaves you little to no room to being offensive. And offensive equals to 1 or 2 skills, or most likely 1, when it comes to dealing damage. If you're only playing one skill that deals you damage, the thing is, it's not about efficiency, it's about you having satisfaction within the game. So make sure to have this balanced out so that you wouldn't burn out or would be missing out on fun part of the game. So I have covered this already, but I think I need to point it out so I could have a separate point specified. Barbarian is a tank. You are main damage sucker. You need to suck out the damage out of enemies so that your colleagues, your friends, your party members in the group could deal damage. So I'm not sure when Diablo 4 creators are gonna do that, but sooner or later they're gonna do that, and there's gonna be like pre-made party abilities, and then there's gonna be like boss abilities. So make sure to play with those and learn your abilities so that you could synergize with your party members and be as efficient and as cool as you could get in a group. Man, I just hope you're gonna watch this part, because this is the best part. Do you like shape-shifting? Do you like various forms like bears, pigs, and other sorts of animals? Pigs? Nah, I'm just joking. There's gonna be wolves, thunder, and bears. Druid has all of those. This is one of the most amazing and most underlooked classes, as if you see any of the Reddit posts, people that were leveling class all noticed the steep learning curve that you need to achieve in order for you to have tremendous amounts of damage in the game. I'm not speaking about any other class, as it don't need any sort of introduction, but I'm still gonna do that, and I am doing that right now. I'm speaking about Druid class. Druid class has one of the most, if not the most, unique abilities in the game, and when you are speaking about class versatility, class unicality, I can't overlook and I can't really say anything else but wow, what a wonderful class. And if you have chosen to play this class, this is going to be one of the roller coaster like experiences you can have in this game. It is the Druid class. First things first, Druid has 3 forms: wolf, bear form, and Druid has human form. You need to utilize all 3 of the forms so that you could be the best and you could have the highest potential in the combat. There's no reason to lock yourself in only wolf. There's no reason to lock yourself in only bear. Experiment, be the best version of yourself. It's not like Diablo 2 where you need to lock yourself in one form, or you can't shape shift from form to form. This game has this problem sorted. Experiment, have as much fun as you want. Secondly, not using elements on Druid. Druid has one of the most, if not the most, versatile elemental abilities when it comes to immobilizing enemies and just diffusing them, right? I personally like thunder abilities. Those look amazing. And despite Druid being kind of a chunky guy that's full of muscle, the fact that you can call out thunder and have thunder-like eyes is just amazing, even from the character creation screen, right? Don't focus yourself being on melee only, right? You can do most of the abilities, if not all of the abilities at once. Don't lock yourself into one element, therefore use element. The third would be not to take advantage of shape shift synergies. As we spoke before, but I think I need to mention this, back in the day when you were playing Druid, you didn't have the ability to play one form and shape shift from wolf to bear. Now you have ability to do that. You can be swift poisonous wolf, and at the second moment you can do huge bashes when you are a bear. And when you're sick of this, or when you're waiting for reuse to pop, you can simply use your wolf abilities to again swiftly slash through enemies with your poison abilities. So synergies like this do exist in the game, and not utilizing those is a huge miss of opportunity. Well, the thing is, Druid has access to several crowd control abilities, such as stun and knockback, and not using those abilities could be really a missed opportunity. Not only that you will be helping yourself to survive and kill enemies faster, as those abilities come with a huge damage, but you'll be having a huge advantage and help to your team if one day you'll decide to join a party or go into group event. I'm not sure if you've seen or not, Druid has not only one or two, it has a couple of friends that he can call upon, and those friends, sometimes some friends are good at one situation, other friends are good at other situations. So you need to experiment with pets. You don't need to pick one before playing the game and just say like, I'm gonna be only wolf type of person, as I'm gonna be riding with wolves only. You don't need to do that. The thing is, if you try, you can call out not the snake, but the vine poisonous thingy, and you can like do AoE damage. And you could only learn about those things if you experiment in the game. If you don't experiment, it's gonna be very hard for you to understand what's the best, what's the least efficient for you that you can do and use in the game. So be sure to experiment, be brave. Druid can use multiple elements in the combat, and being too reliant on one element could lead to Druid being so predictable and limiting in combat. Therefore, it would be so squishy, boring, not interested in the game overall. So just explore the game. It's very similar to points that was addressed before. Just make sure to be happy and try out different things, try out different swings, electricity swings, neglecting to use mobile abilities. Most often than not, Druid is acting like a kind of a tank in a group, in some, well, not some, in most cases. The thing is, you having mobile abilities could be easily overlooked. You need to charge enemies, you need to survive attacks from enemies, and if you're not utilizing your movement's abilities, you are taking damage. And if you are out of health potions, or if you don't have a sufficient armor that can help you out, sooner or later you're gonna run out of health. And what happens when you're out of health? Not so good things happen. You lose durability costs you money to repair, and repairing costs you money. And when you're out of money, there's no fun. So have some movement abilities. Being too passive in combat. I understand that from the very beginning on, when you start playing as a Druid, you notice that there is a steep combat and learning curve, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video. But having this said, you don't need to be too careful about things. As you level up, monsters do get stronger and you get stronger. So you need to take your chances, you need to take your risks and stop being too passive in combat. You are a tank/aggressor. Be aggressive. You have enough gear to cover yourself. And of course, you can't do none of those points that was mentioned before if you are not upgrading your gear. Upgrade your gear. Everyone seems to see and hope that legendary is gonna drop. Everyone's just believe that they're gonna be some lucky monster that it's gonna drop them a good weapon, good armor. In most cases, those things don't happen so often. And vendors don't have such a good items to sell, and the only option for you to upgrade the gear. Money, it's a temporary thing. You're gonna get them back. So invest in gear and just feel free exploring the game with your strongest abilities when you are at your strongest. If you don't have a friends to play with, if you want to go into game solo, if this is your secret, if this is your guilty pleasure, there's always a tips that you need to follow for you so that you could be the best version of yourself when you are enjoying the game and playing it solo. So these tips are for solo players. It could be easily overlooked as you're playing alone, you don't have anyone else to say, hey, let's stop it, let's just cut it right here today and we're gonna continue on next week or tomorrow, right? Since you're playing solo, you have no control, no boundaries, and it's very easy to get rushing through content. It's very easy to extend your boundaries and stop looking into cool things and just looking into progress and minor stats that you need to improve, and just missing out on the whole point of why you started to play this game at all. Rushing through the content is a bad thing to do, so please, I advise you, don't do that. Second point goes very closely to the first one mentioned, and it's neglecting to explore Diablo 4. The thing is, game, as all of the Diablo franchise series, has options for you so you could explore the game, and most often every sort of zone has uncovered on the map area secrets or quests that you as a solo player have a luxury of exploring, reading, and fully immersing yourself into game experience. Use this possibility, and this is your competitive advantage. Explore the game. Crafting can be easily overlooked, or you can simply start selling materials, but don't do that. Remember the thing, game has a very limited amount of goods that you can trade with your party members, therefore your group. And if you're playing solo, every sort of item that you find is useful. And this useful item, this material, this piece of leather, this extracted armory, this can be used to craft your better gear. So don't overlook it. Each material you get, it's best to extract it, not sell it directly for gold. And don't ignore the crafting. It is a very limited inventory, but we still need to manage it, returning back to town, extracting the goods or selling it to gold. And Diablo 4 developers intentionally made this thing so that we would return to town and meet with other players. So at some point, when you are full in your inventory, you can easily go to town, go drink some water, sell the goods, return back to farm. So use this kind of distraction to your advantage so you could get stronger and smarter in the game. This game, Diablo 4, offers a lot of side quests that can be not only filled with valuable rewards and story elements, as most often than not as a solo player you may overlook story elements. But the thing is, you can discover new places, you can discover new quests, new NPCs, and if you can gather more loot than the player who is farming monsters by simply going from one place to another or just speaking with NPC, not only it creates better experiences for you as a player playing the game, but it is even more valuable than just going to the horde of enemies and killing them. If you kill them with a quest, you're gonna get more loot. Easy, don't overlook those. If you go to the crafter in alchemy shop, you can not only upgrade your potions, but you can craft different, potions as well. Those potions can increase your armor, your thorns, your experience gain in the game. And for that, you have your materials that you start collecting from the very start of the game. More and more you progress through the story, more and more potions you'll have ability to craft and use. So make sure to use your potions. They have like 30 minutes duration. This is part of the consumables that I do recommend you using. Not using environment to your advantage. So this is very close to exploration part, but this needs to be mentioned. You'll notice there's a lot of caves, there's a lot of holes in Diablo 4. And those caves and those holes cover not only unique monsters and maybe unique drops within. You could discover one of the most majestic things that exist in video games, and that is soundtracks. Original soundtrack. I can't really stress you enough, Diablo 4 has one of the most beautiful soundtracks, and if you go to different place, different location, different soundtrack is playing. I understand that you already know this, and a lot of people already recognize this and is using those and playing those tunes. As a solo player, I have to mention, don't really ignore multiplayer options. Playing as a multiplayer in the game, even though you're solo, can help you advance further. Even though you can't really trade items with a person, you can expect them to help you kill enemies and help you progress further. And you being able to move with a team, complete event, not only gives you experience boost, but someone else kills the enemy, you get XP. That's cool stuff. And yeah, in these days you don't even need to be in a party. You can just be close to the person in the event, and hey, you'll be acting out as you would be in a party and getting plus 5% XP bonus. That's cool, right? So yeah, so these are the tips for solo player. You can meet other people and other people can meet you. If you have already established group, if you have a clan, there's the ways for you so you can explore the game and have so much experience and fun in the game that you had never had these sorts of experience in Diablo franchise ever before. Diablo 4 offers you so many variety options in the game that you want to explore, fully immerse yourself and say that, hey, okay, enough is enough. I can play as a solo player, but the moment of opportunity comes in and I want to transfer to multiplayer and playing as a multiplayer guy in a group, as this is a cool thing and I want to be a cool guy, right? With all this said and all of the social aspect out of hand and the things mentioned, we need to go through tips that could enhance your game style, and if you know those, that's good. If you haven't, tip number 1, taking all the loot. As it could be tempting to simply grab everything off the ground, come on, you are playing in a group. Most oftenly, there's gonna be a lot more drops coming on the ground, so just instead of you picking up and later on just dropping up the nonsense items, you are in the group, you're gonna get a lot of drops. So make sure to see and keep an eye on the things that you want to pick up, and don't pick up stuff that you would normally pick up when you're playing solo and you have limited amount of monsters that you're killing. Good communication goes with game synergy as well. In this game you'll have option to swap out skills. Not only you have option to play as tank and be offensive and defensive, but any sort of class can remove movement abilities when you know that one guy in the party gonna be taking damage and is going full defense on the enemies. So that you don't need to run, you don't need to have mobile abilities, and your communication towards this result gonna result in such a huge wins, efficient loots, and great synergy that you will have your eyes popping and heads drop. I don't know, it's gonna be super great. So don't overlook good communication. Expanding on this, not adapting to your party needs. If someone needs a tank, play as a tank. Be aggressive. If you see that someone else is not competent enough or just don't understand how things work from up close, give advantage to the person, and if you see that the person is doing great things from the range, leave him there. If you want to teach the person, but if you want to have the best experience, just leave the person be. Play your best and let the other person play his best. As well, teaching can't really come with other than respecting other player. And you need not only to respect other players, but respect other players' time. Be mindful of other people that you're playing with, and be mindful with other things. I do understand that playing in a multiplayer setup, it's very efficient, it's great. It gives you so much synergy and fun overall, but we have to understand that each and every one have a live duties. And not all of the live duties can be cancelled or postponed. So if your squad isn't here for the play, don't be too harsh on them. There's gonna be a time or a place when you'll not be able to log on to the game. Be respectful of your teammates' time. If you are playing as a team and you are doing some team effort, you are fighting some stronghold, you are fighting some enemy or doing some group content, be sure to be with your group. No one likes the person who is sitting on the town always speaking with vendors and your team is just doing damage and killing monsters. Be there with the team. If you're going to the town, go all together. If one person is in town or 2 people are in town, 3 in the zone, it's just out of synergy gameplay. Be with the team, stick with the team, contribute to the team's effort. Okay, this should not come as a surprise for you. No one likes players that are not prepared for the gameplay. Just imagine scenario. It's 6 o'clock, you're logging into the game, everyone finished work, and Steve, as usual, logs on at 6 o'clock and says, hey, I need to restock, I need to craft my potions, I need to repair and upgrade my gear, and your team, 5 or less or more people are waiting for Steve while he's doing that. And you know what happens? 1 hour passes and you have 1 hour less to play. The thing is, if you have only a limited amount of hours, like 2 hours to play, it's kinda bad as you can't play with your team. So be respectful of other players' time and be prepared if you're going somewhere. Don't be Steve. Not sharing with your team. The thing is, there is a couple of things that you'll be able to share within the Diablo 4, but not all of the things can be shared. But we all know that a couple of things that are essential in the game you'll be able to share, and you only prioritizing yourself when you know that your team is in need. It's a bad habit and bad thing to have. If you're a player who likes to keep all things to yourself, just don't do that. Since you're playing in the multiplayer setup, feel free to share, as you know that when you're gonna have a hard time, other players gonna share stuff with you. Not respecting other players' playstyles. We all know and we all can understand that if we look into streamers, if you look into YouTubers, everyone has their best, most something setup, right? When they're doing the damage. But the thing is, not all of the setups and not all of the builds are fun to play. In most cases, builds that are super efficient, they're either boring or singular purpose, so that you could make money and re-roll or play other class. And you forcing your teammate doing something like this, it's mind-numbing and it shouldn't be done or shouldn't be spoken upon in any scenario. So be mindful of that. Respect other players' playstyles. As much as we love multiplayer games, as much as there's experiences and positive emotions within all of the games, sometimes we tend to get too frustrated and we tend to lose control. So we need to play as a team, and usually what team does, team has the team's effort. And we're not losing control, we're trying to control our rage and bad habits and bad emotions to spread across the voice lines, chats, or any sort of communications. So trying to be positive player and acting as a team player is a good thing. Be a team player, stay positive. Just before we go any further, I want to say that, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful today. Nothing would make me such a beautiful person as you are today as you subscribing and liking this video. If you have any of the comments regards to me saying this, leave a comment down below. Then I'll know that you watched this part. Thank you so much. Diablo 4, like any other Diablo game, has access and opportunity for you to try out to play the game as a hardcore player. Hardcore, for those who don't know, is if you die forever. There's no turning back, there's no grabbing your loot or anything else. You're done. You're kaput. Finito. And each and every Diablo series has hardcore play, and I notice myself, sometimes I do look into hardcore, I do sometimes play it, but moment comes and I die and I think to myself like, man, there are people who are playing hardcore and only hardcore, and it's hard for me, and it's super tempting to think like dealing with death and your attachment to the character when that you leveled for several weeks just went down just because someone killed it is super mentally challenging to go up with this, as you lost it. But there's people that can handle it. There's people that are just striving to make your life miserable and just killing each and every player that coexists in the same space. Yes, I'm speaking about hardcore players, as I mentioned before, and I will be giving out tips to hardcore players so that they could have the most fun there is and there could be in Diablo 4 realm and the new existence of hardcore playthroughs. First things first, if you're starting out as a hardcore player, or if you're not aware, well, you can play this as any other game, but if you're gonna rush out to any of the areas that are dense with monsters, what happens is you're gonna die. And what happens when you die? Exactly, you're gone. Second thing, neglecting defense abilities. So the game offers you a variety of classes that you can choose from, and choosing the one that is super squishy from the very early on and without you knowing the full game mechanics can be fatal. And I can't really stress now, just focus on defensive abilities as much as you focus on offensive abilities, as this is a one-way street. Next, when you're playing as a group in a hardcore setting, if the group is not hostile, make sure to play as a group and communicate with it so that you could have the most effort. Even though everyone is not so superficial and trustworthy, there's still people that are open for communication, even though you need to keep an open eye for those. But there are people, and don't overestimate the power of teamwork communication. You can't be strict when you're playing one particular build. The thing is, there's gonna be different legendaries. Not all of the legendaries you can pick and choose. Therefore, your playstyle should advance and should be dynamic in order for you to could meet your foes, your enemies, and have the maximum defensive abilities and offensive abilities when it comes to standing hand in hand, when it comes to just dealing damage. Don't forget to take breaks. Hardcore player tends to get super intensive and forget to take any sort of breaks, and those avoidance of breaks cause stress and exhaustion. So you being stressed is not helping anyone, especially your character. Take breaks, get some rest, and don't get angry when you die because of server lags that don't exist in Blizzard, right? Next, we have becoming overconfident. This is very often thing, as you go to the next level and you think like, hey, I can clear this wave of monsters, and there's like new ability of monster that you never seen, or just couple of critical hits and you're gone. So being overconfident and dying from enemies, this is one of the most common ones that could happen. So this is a sweet reminder to you. Don't become overconfident. Despite the fact that you are playing hardcore and you are playing safe, you have one of the best luxuries in the game, that is exploring the game in the safest way possible. You're looking out for everything, you are looking everywhere, you're seeing everything. You can immerse and look into every sort of setting. Don't forget to immerse yourself into the game. And even though you have explored, even though you know all the game, even though you're doing the same content over and over again, don't let your guard down. The moment when you forget about something, the moment when you think like it's too easy, something's bad gonna happen. And it always happens like this. If you have a glimpse of idea or a sense, like sixth sense, right? Something's bad gonna happen, and those something bad gonna happen most likely turns into death. So have your guard up. And lastly, don't forget to have fun in games. All of the games are designed for you to have fun. Since you've chosen to play as hardcore player, this is only the hardcore fun that you're gonna get. So you being immersed into the game is not limiting, but additionally just giving you additional breathe and fresh air so that you could breathe, and you having fun in the game like no one else should understand that from time to time it's a game, but at certain moments it's a hardcore game. Okay, next thing is things that I can't really place into any category, as I believe this is a very generic and very multiversal. First thing is the battle pass and skins. Diablo 4 will feature those, and we are not too sure what kind of things will be added, and we are not too sure either those things gonna be liked, hated, endorsed, or beloved. As far as I remember, anything that goes around money and spending money, additional money in the game, communities don't like that. If it's efficiency built item, if it's cosmetic, all in all, if you buy the game, it should be accessible for you. So don't be too judgmental at the very start of the release. There's gonna be a bunch of people who are already judgmental of this even before it's fully shown. Just know one thing: if there's bad things that are bad for season 1 and season 2 of the launch, eventually there's no escaping the inevitable. Blizzard gonna address it. The price is gonna go lower, or something's gonna become cheap, accessible, or there's gonna be giveaways, as there always has and always will be. Okay, next up, we have upgrading your gear too often. I have mentioned this as this is one of the key important things to upgrade your gear, but this could become very addictive. You go to dungeon, you get the money, you use the money to upgrade the loot, and so on, so forth, so on, so forth. And what happens? You get new loot drops. And the thing is, your upgrades are wasted. I'm not too sure about the extraction part, as you are extracting only a portion of it, but the thing is, you spent so much money and you're going to get portion of it back through materials, and it's, oh man, it's crazy. Update only vital parts of the armor and the ones that are, you know, or you feel that are just dragging you down. So as always in Diablo, priority is weapon, second priority is armor. Next up, we have not posting your experiences on social media. Everyone loves your experience on all sorts of medias. Everyone has a comment about it, everyone has a feeling about it. If you got some nice piece of gear, show it. Show it. If you killed a bunch of monsters, share it with community. This is what creates Diablo one of the most immersive experiences across the globe. This is the fourth game of Diablo series, and this comes to no surprise. This is gonna be an open world, they say, right? But when it comes to sharing your experiences, Blizzard forums is not the best, and we have different communities on different social medias. And you sharing your experiences engages other players to join the game and join the Diablo community. So you being part of people who are sharing stuff, you are joining the Diablo group. So be part of the group. Post on social media. Not doing any sort of fan art. I remember back in the day, like 15 years ago, there was so many people who were into painting and just simply painting a lot of stuff like characters, animations, different scenes about various of games. And now those things got limited and people got either bored or just simply thinking that they're not good enough of an artist to publish their work. And fan artwork is not about how good you are, it's about your creativity. It's not always about art style. It's how you can explore your own experiences with the game and how you want the game to be presented to you even furthermore when the story unveils itself and when the game new expansion is going to be added, if they will. This is your way of saying thank you, I like the game. Posting on social media your new drops is just portion of your satisfaction that you can share. You having a build to just pick a paper and just paint something or use a tool to do that on PC is you saying that, hey, I love this game, come join me playing this game. This is important. Diablo is, as always, very beautiful, very heavy intensive on the different machines and different computers, but you need to try out different settings. I personally tried, and not only the performance is sometimes the problem, but it's the problem from the settings. You'll notice if you play with settings, you will have ability to change certain aspects of the game that are not so heavily impacting on your visuals, such as shadows. You can minimize them a bit and you'll have a drastic performance increase. So you must play with settings. You must dedicate like half an hour, set your perfect settings for all types of plays and just have the best experience that you can have. You playing on 20 or 30 FPS is extremely limiting, and not only it is limiting your having fun in the game, but just 30 minutes. Change your settings. Also, not trying out other classes because you decided to play one class. This is somewhat a mistake that I usually do. When I download the game, or usually before game launches, I look into best builds, look into best classes, and decide what kind of playstyle and what kind of thing I am going to do within this game. And I haven't really thought of this thing in Diablo 4, and I tried beta without any sort of guides that was pre-released before, and I can tell you I had one of the most experienced, fun playthroughs that I could remember, honestly, as I just played the game and played classes up until I felt that, hey, I want to explore something new. I want to try out different class. And without any sort of hustle, I tried all of the classes. I played up until the moment I started losing the attraction, and it wasn't that fun to me, and it was perfectly fine. I still like the game. I just don't enjoy certain classes that much. But yeah, I had that luxury, and I'm not bound to doing any sort of changes just because I decided to do that. So you shouldn't bound yourself to limits as well. Okay, this is kind of tough one, but I think you can handle it. If you take too much time on your appearance render or when you're creating your character and people are saying, hey, come on, we're waiting for you, or can't this color match your shoes? This is crazy, right? Don't focus on what other people are saying, focus on yourself. As the Blizzard developer said, the game is designed to give you as many of character customization choices as it possibly can, so that you could create your journey and your experience with the game. So be your hero in your own story. So don't care what other people think, how long time you spend in the dresser. And the very similar is thinking of your clan name. What should be your character name, what should be your clan name, what should be your message of the day in the clan, right? It's fine. People are people. Some people have a lot of time to decide. Some people have difficulty deciding things. If you decided to make a clan, if you said, okay, I'm gonna be clan leader, but you can't decide the name of the clan for 3 days, well, it's fine. Give it another 3 days. Maybe you're gonna come up with a name. But if you decided to play as a clan leader and make a clan, it's great. It takes time to come up with a great name, and people are gonna remember you and your clan name that you have created. Next up, we have having Thorn's feelings about the game. Of course, there's gonna be things that's gonna be super fun. Hey, I like the environment, I like the animations, I like the playstyles. But you don't like the sounds or the glitches, the desync. It's okay, it's perfectly fine. None of the people in this planet Earth had made anything that would be socially acceptable by everyone. So that, in analogy, you can't make any sort of cake or a piece of food that everyone would love. Someone is allergic to cheese or vegetarian products, someone only eats vegetarian stuff. So you can't appeal to everyone. If you haven't have Thorn feelings, understand that all of the player base of Diablo has the very same feelings. There's majority of people who love certain aspects of the game, and there's majority of people who doesn't like certain aspects of the game. And there's like minor things. If majority of players agree on one thing to be removed, I know that in the past Blizzard said, we don't listen to you, but I somehow believe this new age, new game comes up with different responsibilities and different communication methods, as more engagement from the company, more engagement from the players. Therefore, we're making the best game possible. It's fine to have different feelings about the game. And the last one is to all of the my age people, I believe, or people that have life, and you can't really spend too much time on playing games and having as much as luxury as you had before playing any sort of games. And it's very easy to buy the game when you're at work or at shop and you have free moments, so you can just log on and purchase the game. But when it comes to dedicating the game, dedicating time to play the game, having the up-to-date console, game downloaded, everything ready, no one's buzzing around, no one's distracting you, it takes time. And it's very hard to find time to play games that we usually like. And having you understand this, that you are not alone, there's a lot of people just like you, I'm one of them, and it's perfectly fine. So, when you're thinking either you need to lose some sort of responsibility, or it's best to just quit gaming for all time's sake and just forget about it, it's never too late. Either if you can't play this year, this month, this week, this day, you'll be able to do that next year or year after. At some point, you'll have your free time, you'll have time to explore. Man, there's cafes all around the place. You can go there, rent a PC, rent a Xbox, play the game for one evening, and hey, who knows, maybe you're gonna like the game, or decide that you don't really like the game after all. The thing is, you need to enjoy yourself and find your best perfect version of you. And you can't really do that if you're not exploring. So, as I mentioned through all of the video so far, explore, experiment, find the best version of you. And yeah, that's the video. If you want to watch more of the videos, you can see the ones that is placed here on the screen. Another one here. Yeah, a lot of videos. I'm just gonna disappear. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next one.